Our next guest is Marilyn Mosley. Marilyn is the director of Laurel Springs School. She has more than 25 years' experience in the field of alternative education, helping to develop one of America's first homeschooling programs in the late 1970s. In her capacity as an educator and visionary, Ms. Mosley co-founded Laurel Springs School. Many of you probably read Homeschool.com's recent newsletter. Laurel Springs School is the school that many of the sports stars and movie and TV children are using because it frees them up to pursue their career and kind of gets their studies out of the way. Marilyn, I know you've also been featured on the Today Show and MSN.com, and you and your late husband created the first online curriculum in the U.S.
That's right, Rebecca.
And of course, you've also homeschooled your own 3 children, and they went on to complete college degrees as well as to achieve success in their chosen fields.
Absolutely. They're all in their 30s at this point with young children of their own.
Well, of course, today, really, this is the perfect cap to our 2 weeks, because we're talking about how to help our children discover their life purpose, and that's what we really want for them, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I think that this is a topic of such importance because children, adults, we all have a purpose for being here, a reason for being on the earth, a life purpose, and that can so easily be occluded from our view by just the day-to-day busyness of the world and the kinds of focuses that are becoming prevalent. And it's so important to let children know that they are important and they have a reason for being here.
And which is kind of gets you away from all the busyness, doesn't it?
It really does, and it allows a child to feel that they are important and that they are here for more than just acquiring goods and services or even just information, that they are here to do work that's important that can help others.
Well, what does it mean for a child to have a dream or a purpose in his or her life?
What I like to think about with children is to take it to the most simplest level, and that is that every single child has ideas of what they want to be when they grow up. They might tell you they want to be an astronaut, or my daughter wanted to be a movie director, or my son wanted to be a fireman. And that is the seeds of their life purpose. And usually beneath the surface is a desire to do good work and to be helpful, to make a difference in the world. And so it's really important to acknowledge those early dreams, which I feel are the seeds of a life purpose.
Now, of course, you've homeschooled your 3 children. How can homeschooling support children having a life purpose?
Well, it's wonderful because, first of all, one of the things that homeschooling does is it gives you time to work with your children. I can remember when my children were home that we spent every morning working together on their various projects. And time is one of the most precious commodities that we have with our children. It's something that most children going to school don't have, and they don't have the time to think clearly. It also gives them the time to develop their self-esteem and to also develop their talents and gifts in a loving and a protected environment.
And then what are some of the tools that can help a child and parent find their purpose?
One of the most important tools, and I think it's something that's true for life in general, is what I call the power of appreciation. When a child feels appreciated, when an adult feels appreciated, when any of us feel appreciated, we feel free to become our best self. And when your child is home, that tool can be readily accessed and also used and developed. I love seeing it develop. Mary Emma's learning style profile is one that we use at Laurel Springs to help find those hidden interests and talents that are prevalent in every child. So first is the power of appreciation. The second is to not thwart a child's idea. I remember when my daughter told me that she was going to be a movie director, I could have said to her, "That's completely impossible. How are you going to do that?" Well, she knew by the age of 14 that she was going to be a director, and by the time she was 18, she was already a successful director out in the world. And she could never have done this if we hadn't homeschooled and if she hadn't felt that her dream was being supported. The other thing that's very important is to give children time to daydream. one of the things that's happened in the world is children are very busy. Their time is being scheduled hour by hour. When children are homeschooled, we can give them that time to daydream, time to play, which is so important to developing their dream. And another important key is to have a lack of peer pressure. There was a study done by Antioch College that showed that homeschooled children tended to miss the second level of development in high school, and that was the need for peer pressure. They went from first homeschooling to having a reason or a mission or a purpose, and what they didn't need was their peers to acknowledge and approve of what they are doing. So I think that that's so key. So just to go over that, the power of appreciation, making sure ideas aren't thwarted, allowing a child time to dream, and also monitoring the kind of pressure that comes from peer interaction.
So why should we help children develop their purpose? Why not wait?
It's something that I've really thought about, and I feel really strongly about it, and it's something that I've really promoted at Laurel Springs, and that is, if we wait to dream, what we're doing is we're establishing a habit that says that there's another time, a better time to really become ourselves. And when we do that, we develop the ability to put off becoming our true self. And so what happens is we don't do it when we're a child, and then when we're a teenager, we're busy being a teenager, and then when we're an adult, we're often busy earning a living. And what happens is that ability to develop a life purpose or to have a dream starts to fade. And so what I think is important is that children develop this muscle so that from the very beginning they develop the faith or the confidence in themselves so that they know that they are capable of having a dream and then pursuing their dream.
Well, how do we develop that muscle, that dream muscle, if you will? Can you give us an example of how we can incorporate this process into our homeschooling environment?
Absolutely. One of the keys to developing this muscle is, there are two or three, but I'd like to give you one that's worked really well, and that is the importance of journaling. Children, they found, who journal, who have a daily diary in which they jot down their ideas and are allowed to come up with their own inventions if they're an inventive person, or their own creations if they're a creative person, tend to be more in touch with their own dreams and their own life purposes. Also, another really important thing is to develop a child's learning style. So if you develop their gifts or their talents, if a child has an innate desire to dance or truly enjoys taking things apart or putting them back together, if a child enjoys diagramming or wants to go out and become a fireman and do early apprenticeship, all of those things become tools that really help your child to learn how to dream and gives them the chance to develop those. Another thing is to help them to develop their talents and their interests. For example, if they have a desire to learn more, to work with them and to follow that interest and flow and to not always direct the learning that they're doing. Those are some of the keys that have helped, and I would say that developing interests and talents, journaling, and then really working on your child to develop those specific gifts that they have that are important to them.
Sounds like just paying attention is so helpful, so critical.
Paying attention is so key, as is open listening, so that when your child tells you what they're going to do, even if it sounds outrageous. I remember one little boy who told me he was going to make a ship that could fly. That sounded so outrageous. That child is now at MIT working on his degree.
Now, what happens if you have a child who you've noticed has a big interest in music, and you support her on that? You take her to music lessons, and she's doing so well, and then suddenly she doesn't want to do it anymore.
Well, I think that that's a perfect time to stop.
Really?
And to give that child a break. Absolutely. I wouldn't say to let go of it forever, but what I've noticed with children, as with parents, as with adults, is that we go through cycles of interest. And it's sort of like an onion peel, and we peel the onion and go to deeper and deeper levels. But like schoolwork, we need time to consciously work with our interests and talents, and then we need times to lay it aside. what I have found works really well is to decide with your child how long you're going to take a break